Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learning. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Elaine Penhaul. Hopefully I've got that right, and apologies if I haven't. Who is the founder of home staging company Lemon and Lime Interior, specialising in achieving great results for your clients in the upper end of the property market. Author as well as to this book. I don't know if people can see it or if you're listening. It's called Sell High, Sell Fast, Sell Your Home for the best possible price in the quickest possible time, which actually is most probably appropriate in both markets. So the market we were seeing before, which was absolutely crazy, and the more normal market as we're seeing at the moment. So Elaine, welcome. Thank you for joining me. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your career and how you got into home staging, please.
Thank you very much for having me, Stephen. I'm delighted to be here and to be invited to talk about all things staging. I fell into staging about 10 years ago, 12 years ago by accident. I didn't know it was a thing in the UK. I came by way of my divorce into some residential property and some commercial property, and had 4 small children to feed in 2008, 2009 post crash, and really had to pull out all the stops to get the best lettings and the best sales for my own properties. And it seemed to me pretty much common sense to do tidying up, to pop in new carpets or a bit of decorating if that's what it needed, and everything photographed much better with furniture in. So where I've got empty rentals before the new tenants moved in, then putting some furniture in always seemed to get me the best rental prices. So I kind of started doing it like that, and then agents locally to me in the Midlands started inviting me. I knew quite a lot of them anyway through my portfolio, and they started asking me to come and, could you just have that conversation with my client Elaine? You know, that one that goes along that says, you can't possibly sell your house looking like that. Could you tidy up a bit? Or could you just get rid of the awful colours on the walls? Or would you just come with me, Elaine? And because I'm very nosy and I like other people's houses, and I thought, well, that's a really good idea. I'll pop along and do that. And I was doing it really as a favour for them to start with. And it kind of went on like that for a year or two. And the result of that was that I was then starting to earn money from the clients paying me because they hadn't got time to tidy up, redecorate, put some furniture in, whatever. I started doing that for them to help out the agents that I knew. And from there, Lemon and Lime was born.
Fantastic. So I've got your book here, and it talks about you've got a 7-step address system that will enable you to realize your house's maximum value. So I don't want you to give everybody all your secrets away, because it'd be nice if people actually maybe go and find this copy of a book, which is really, really useful. And actually, one of the things that I think may be useful is, if there are agents out there, is to actually maybe have this book and take it with you on an appraisal and just leave it as a gift to add some value to help them. Because if I'm a seller, to be perfectly honest, how to sell your home for the best possible price, that's really important to me. And how to sell it in the quickest possible time is really important to me as a seller. And also how to take the stress out of it. And I think you're combining all of those in that book.
Thank you. Well, and I'm also very happy for anybody that's listening on this show with us, Stephen, to any agents that haven't seen a copy of the book, haven't got a copy of the book, if you message me afterwards, LinkedIn is the platform where I tend to live. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, and I will send you a copy of the book so that then you can read it without having to buy it off Amazon. Then if it's going to be a good deal for your clients.
That's very kind.
Oh, I lost you.
There you go.
Oh,
there you go. That's very kind of you.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
very happy to do that. You know, I'm very confident, and we know that with all the agents that we habitually work with, they find a lot of value in the book. I wrote the book because it actually saves me about 3 hours drinking really bad coffee in somebody's kitchen of explaining why we do what we do and how we do it. And people then get the idea and go, oh, now I understand. And for a lot of people that we work with, they've perhaps lived in their home for a significant length of time, and the market was very different at the time that they bought to the time that they're now coming to sell, even to the point where a lot of our clients bought their homes before Rightmove was a thing. And so for them, the presentation at the selling stage of their property wasn't as critical when they bought as it is now. And leaving them a copy of the book or talking through that whole thing, it does really help to explain. We do find that the vast majority of clients will read the book and go, oh, I haven't got the time or the energy to do that. Let's get somebody in. So that's where it really works for us.
So I most probably, if I'm honest, haven't come across a lot of home staging. And I was recently watching Lux listings over in Australia. And I saw the difference of a unfurnished property compared to one where literally, and the difference it made, you know, when that buyer was walking in and actually visualizing where everything will go makes a massive, massive difference. So if I'm an agent, how do I not convince, I think that maybe is the wrong word, but demonstrate the importance of, you know, you talked about decluttering, you talked about tidying, you talked about these things. I think for me, it's how can you get their home showroom ready rather than lived in ready? Because, you know, that makes a massive, massive difference. So what can I be saying to my sellers in order to help them understand that?
I think it's a very good question, Stephen. And as you say, the whole concept of staging has been really important in creating listings in Australia, in New Zealand, and of course in the United States for a long time now, for 20 plus years now. And we have been, for lots of reasons, we've been relatively slow in the UK to do anything with presentation beforehand. And I think many agents are still wary of staging for a number of reasons. The three reasons that we see most often is that they believe, first of all, that the conversation to have with their client is too difficult, and they don't want to upset their client or potential client and lose an instruction. The second reason is that many agents believe it's expensive, and agents, as we know in the UK, are not always entirely confident about selling a high fee based on the service and the value that they're bringing to the sale. And they're even less confident of recommending another cost up front, so they won't recommend staging. And the third reason is that they believe that staging will take too long. It'll keep the house off the market too long. Now, you and I both know that keeping a house off the market for a couple of weeks and doing proper presentation at the beginning is the way to a much faster sale when it does launch. So within a few days, or within, the current market, within the first month. But agents are wary of that, and there seems to be this, right, come on, let's just get it on. So that's the third reason that they don't always recommend. Agents that we work with habitually have learned, I think, that probably the best way of bringing in us as a stager, and I think the same is probably true of other stagers as well, is to allow us to be the experts. So in other words, most agents these days work with mortgage companies, with conveyancers, with a whole host of other professionals that add value to their service. And staging is another thing that adds value. And often the conversation goes along the lines, the best conversations go along the lines of, right, okay, so as part of our service and in getting you absolutely the best marketing for your home, may we suggest that you have a free consultation with our partner staging company? I will ask Elaine or one of her team to give you a call with your permission, and they will talk through what they do and how they do it. And we will then directly speak with the seller just about the importance really of presentation these days and all the things that are important, you know, Instagram, Rightmove, getting those photos right, and how they might be able to achieve that while they're still living in a home. And also those developers or investors who are perhaps selling an empty home or a part empty home where somebody has perhaps passed away, or it's a divorce, for example, and there's gaps where some of the furniture is gone. We can talk through all of those things. But in the same way, we don't try and talk about valuation because we're not the experts on that in a consultation. We would ask an agent to say, well, look, we're not going to get involved in the presentation, in the nitty-gritty and the details of that. What we would like to do is to bring in a consultation with our partner business who does exactly that as their full-time, you know, they are the experts. Talk to them.
Good. Well, I know your raving fan, Martin Baum, so thank you, Martin, has commented to say an investment in presentation is vital in 2023. So are you national, or are you just based in a certain area then?
We're national, we work nationally, we specialise in the premium end of the market. We also, our market generally is country homes. So because that's what we know, that's what we understand. We're not good at the parking fines when we go to London, all the congestion charges, you know, that kind of thing. We're not good at that. We do go to London occasionally. We are best in big country houses. That's what we understand. That's what we're really good at. And we stage those all over the country. We're based in the Midlands, so we're very much on the motorway network and can be anywhere within 2 or 3 hours, pretty much.
Okay, so you talked about the three things, being expensive, the agents having difficult conversations, and people's assumption that it's going to take too long. How do you overcome those with the estate agents? How do you get them to see actually that it is a real benefit, or as Martin says, an investment in presentation?
Yeah, so we talk about investment because that's important, and we have a lot of evidence over the years of the business that actually any spend on staging is then likely to come back tenfold or more within a few weeks. So for example, if somebody's spending £5,000 on the presentation, maybe getting in some extra furniture, getting in some help to declutter and so on, in all likelihood they will be realizing another £50,000 than they would otherwise have done when they come to agree an offer on that property. Well, there aren't very many places right now, Stephen. You can stuff £5,000 and get 50 grand back in the next month, are they? You know, so we talk about that, and we've got a lot of evidence for that now. That's not just, you know, kind of hype. We've got a lot of evidence for that in a lot of different sectors of the market, a lot of different types of property. So that's the first thing. Every agent at the moment, I think, as the market's just cooled off a little bit post-COVID, every agent is wanting to look at how they add value to their service. And many sellers now are educated. They've seen things. You talked about the Lux listing one in Australia, things like Selling Sunset. There's an awful lot of television around at the moment, and things on social media about the value of really thinking about a property's presentation before it comes onto the market. And of course, all of those things really help. because educated sellers now are seeking out staging, often long before an estate agent will recommend it. And I think it's a really important thing for estate agents to understand at the moment. If you're not recommending staging or you're not talking about presentation, it's a reason that a seller may not use you, because the educated seller knows it exists now in the UK. We get now 25% of our work, of our business, coming directly through the website. And that's 25% of the business that we convert. It's not 25% of our leads, it's 25% of the actual business that we convert come direct through the website. So people seeking us out, often with the line that says, I knew people like you must exist, but my estate agent didn't tell me. Well, of course, if their estate agent didn't tell them and they knew people like us existed and they want the help, they're not going to use the agent that didn't tell them. So it really is now, I think, an important part of sellers understanding that the agent they're talking to really wants to bring them the best marketing, as well as to sell their home. And there is this real kind of pull, I think, for estate agents in many situations about whether they're listing and selling or whether they're marketing a home in order to achieve the sale. And it's a subtle balance, but it's a really, really important balance. And the presentation is very much in the domain of the agents who are wanting to get their marketing right to achieve the best sale.
Well said. Well summed up. It's nicely done. So you talk a lot about case studies, and I think that's a massive lesson. Obviously, not just in what you do, but for what the estate agents do when they're coming to sell. And you talked about various different kinds of sales, whether it's probate, whether it's a divorce sale. And for me, to have those case studies makes a massive, massive difference. And to have real life testimonials from those people make a massive, massive difference as well.
Yeah.
So,
completely.
So for agents, do you just ask them for those case studies? Is it as simple as that?
So we get the case studies in, and there's kind of it's a multi-layered approach, if you like, because we're often working through an estate agent. So the estate agents we work with are our route to market, if you like. They're our introduction to their client, because what we're all then trying to do is to get the best sale for the client. And usually as a result of that, we will, if we're going to stage something, we will have gone in to visit the client. At that stage, we'll take a set of photographs, which end up as the before photographs. Obviously, we've got all the permissions in place and so on, so all the GDPR and so on and so forth. And we would take a set of photographs, which then allow us to write the report that we need in order to quote or explain to somebody what they need to do if they're going to do it themselves. We then work with the agent to get the professional photographs once it's been done and it's on the market. There is no point whatsoever staging a property and then not using a professional photographer. So the two things absolutely go hand in hand. And then as soon as the sale is achieved, we ask the agent or the seller, depends really on who we're talking to first, for what the figures are, what the timeline is, and then we'll create those into a presentation, which the agent can then have to use for the next one. We then use for our marketing as well. And we'll then approach the seller at the point where they're moving on for a testimonial, and often the agent as well. So many of the agents that we work with are repeat clients, if you like. So we love getting to know them, how they work, what they need, and just making that happen for them, because then they're getting their commission at a higher value and more quickly. They're not getting stuck with a property that they can't get anybody round, or they're doing viewings and they're getting the same old feedback about, oh gosh, it's in the right place, but it needs loads of work. They're not getting that. So we're really helping them, create the business that they want as well.
Fantastic. So there'd be some agents here that will say, "Oh, do you know what? I'm never going to use a home stager anyway, and I give plenty of advice to my sellers how to market their property," which is fine. But are there any tips that you can give to agents to just say, right, these are the five things that you at least need to be saying to their sellers to present their property in the best possible light to get it sold for a premium price in a timescale that suits them, with that agent taking the stress?
Okay, I think first of all, my kind of top line on that would be that it is and it can be very time consuming to give people that kind of advice. You think, it's simple, you just give them 5 top tips and off they go and do it. But I know, and all the agents listening to this know that it's not that simple, that you are the hand holder, if you like, until the client's got the sale. You're probably counseling them if it's a divorce. You're probably, being their best friend, and they're phoning you up at 10 o'clock at night. Now, what colour did you say I needed to paint the lounge? Or do I go to Dunelm or the Range for the new cushions? There's a whole load of stuff that comes as part and parcel of that. But if an agent is going to give some advice, I think first of all, make sure that your client, so the seller, knows who their buyer is likely to be, because very often the buyer is the person that the seller was at the point where they bought the property. So in other words, if it's an elderly couple moving out, it may well be that their target market for the property is a young family, which is exactly who they were when they moved in. Kids have all grown up, moved on, but they're not selling the house to somebody like them. So first of all, who are they selling the house to? That needs to be very clear. And then secondly, what are those people, what's that family going to be looking for? So if in the example of an elderly couple moving on, they've perhaps created one of the bedrooms into, and I saw it the other day, into a hobby room. So there's a sewing machine in there, there might be some painting equipment, those kind of things that absolutely suit their lifestyle. And it's being sold as a 4-bedroom home. All that stuff needs to come out, and it needs to be 4-bedroom home, needs to have 4 beds, because otherwise somebody looking at it won't be able to visualize, oh yeah, it's big enough to get a bed into that room. So those things are important as well. So first of all, who are they selling it to, and what's that family looking for, or what's that buyer looking for? And that's what you're creating. And
Brilliant.
then the kind of the very ordinary things, declutter, do a bit of decorating, get rid of the red ceilings that we all loved in the early 90s, and are actually coming back, but they look awful on photos, a lot of them. So, there's a lot of that as well. But I think those 2 things, if you get those 2 things right, then the rest follows.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'm really grateful for your time. I'm just going to ask you one other question, if that's okay.
Okay.
So I think you're involved with Agents Together. So I just wanted to firstly thank you for your involvement. Are you doing some mentoring there?
Yes. Now, my involvement with Agents Together, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be working with Agents Together. I think it's a fantastic initiative, and really thrilled to have been able to have some input there. So I'm doing 2 things. First of all, I'm a mentor myself, and secondly, and it's what I approached Agents Together. I approached Sarah and Sam. And said, look, this is where I can help. For many years, my previous business before I fell into this was as a business coach. So I was running coaching, mentoring programs within a corporate environment, and particularly interestingly in public sector and in police forces, and helping a lot of businesses set up mentoring registers, train mentors, train internal coaching capacity, all that kind of thing. And when I saw Agents Together, I thought, gosh, I wonder if I've got something from that bit of my life to bring to this. So that's what I'm bringing, some mentoring training, So some training for mentors and indeed for mentees. And we're just looking, Sarah, Sam and I are looking at the moment at what the next steps of that are. We've done one webinar so far, and we're looking at what the next steps of that might be. So I'm really excited to bring that experience into this world.
Well, thank you. So what do you think it takes to be, or, you know, I suppose two questions. What does it take to be a good mentor? And I think you and Ross from Knock Dayton did a great webinar on that, and I'm sure that's available on the Agents Together website. So please have a look at that and see. But what do you think makes a good mentor, and why should people become a mentee?
I think those are both very good questions. What makes a good mentor, I think, is really a fascinating question. And I've worked with many mentors over the years in all kinds of different settings. I think the common thread is that they really are very interested, that they're curious about people, and they are passionate about enabling other people to develop. And coupled with that, really good listening skills, because one of the things that lets down some mentors who are genuinely interested, genuinely very passionate about helping, is that they believe that it's more important to tell people what they've done and how to do it than they are about listening. So I think that listening skills and learning to listen well is a skill, and it's certainly something we're going to do some more work on. And I think if you're willing to listen and then willing to help somebody on their journey, in their doing the steps at their pace, in their time, in their way, and guiding rather than taking over, it's a really good thing for a mentor to be able to do. Many people are mentors already without a formal title, so they will be using a lot of mentoring skills in their current roles. However, having a little bit of extra training, doing some reading, all that kind of thing, really just brings that skill level from a subconscious level to a conscious level. So when it's a bit challenging, when somebody's really stuck, you've got a tool in the toolbox, if you like, that can help them move on. So yeah, and to be a mentee, you have to be really willing to learn, willing to accept that you don't yet know everything, and want to find out more. Just be, again, curious to learn more, and to be then, I think, willing to take the learning. And I don't mean advice, I mean learning, because it's a development, it's a real kind of learning process, but to take that and put it into action, because otherwise both mentor and mentee are wasting time. So it's really important that it's an action thing rather than just a cozy chat over a cup of coffee.
How do you get people to take action and get out of their comfort zone and implement the stuff that you're advising and guiding them and supporting them with?
And I think with a minute and a half left in our half-hour session, that's not a fair question. How do you get people to take action? I think first of all, it has to be on their agenda. I think that's the most important thing. It has to be their agenda. They have to understand, own, be making the decisions. People will talk about it as goal setting. I'm a bit less fixated on goals, because I think sometimes at the beginning of a mentor-mentee relationship, the goals aren't very clear and they emerge as things go forward. But it has to be that kind of, I don't know yet, let's explore that, and whether it's going away and doing some reading outside, whether it's going out and doing an experiment, if you like. Let's try doing something different this week or this month and see what happens. I think those are the important things, but not making it too big. The mentor can't be setting, kind of huge things to do, because sometimes they're just like, it's too scary. And so we don't do anything. Much better to have baby steps, one step at a time, and then for the mentee to be actually excited. You know, it's their agenda, they're moving forwards, and they're really excited about doing that.
Okay, fantastic. So one final question before I thank you and say goodbye. You talked about books. Any books that you recommend for people?
So for people, generally as agents, do you mean, or in terms of mentoring?
Either or anything that's caught your mind.
So my book list is absolutely huge. In terms of mentoring, I think anything that David Livingstone or David Clutterbuck ever wrote is still really, really good value. So get hold of those, read them. In terms of what have I got on my book list at the moment, I've got The One Thing, which is
Gary Keller.
yeah. So I've got that. I've got Atomic Habits. I'm going through now the James Clear Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
I return over and over again to Stephen Covey, to 7 Habits. So those are my kind of favorites right now, but it changes all the time. There's lots and lots of good things out there. And also I think my secret about reading, because I'm a mathematician by background, so you know, if you give me more than 3 lines in an email, I'll read the first 3 lines and then it won't happen. You know, the rest of it just gets lost. So reading a whole book is hard. But what I do is just pick out little bits at a time. So if a book, particularly for business books, I'll pick out one concept or one idea and then go and try it out before I try and read the whole book. And I think often, you know, a whole book is really daunting, but I think a chapter or a paragraph sometimes. And of course, you know, you can now stick any book into ChatGPT or equivalent, and it'll summarize the main ideas, because most books are based on, you know, one big idea. Summarize that, get the big idea, and go and play with that before you invest in the whole book.
Brilliant. Wise words to end. So can you remind everybody again how they get hold of you, please?
Yes. So the best platform to get hold of me is LinkedIn. Just put in my name, Elaine Penhaul. And then my website is Lemon and Lime Interiors, all one word, and and.co.uk. Is that what I mean? You know what I mean. .co.uk. Yeah. So any of those, the website's got a contact page. I think it's also got my number, or it's certainly got the office number. My LinkedIn profile has definitely got all my contact details on it. So, you know, I'd love to hear from you. Please get in touch. If you would like a copy of the book, as Stephen said, I'm very happy. I also have a copy. I can't work out this camera because it's back to front. But
we can see it.
Yeah. So do message me and I will send you a copy, and hopefully it's useful for you.
Amazing. Well, look, you've been a fantastic guest. So thank you so much for your time. I'm incredibly grateful, and look forward to speaking to you soon. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.